Hello, good morning. This is Sai Krishna Srikar, currently pursuing post-graduation diploma in general management at XLRI Jamshedpur. We have a special guest, Mr. Aditya Singh, who is a CEO and founder of fintech and technology startup called TapFin. Helps individual and businesses accessing funds and clean energy and EVs, electric vehicles. So the co-founder is not only with TapFin, but he is also founder of GoGreen Capital and lending money for sustainable processing. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Cedar. Nice to meet you.
He is also a founder of CreditMate, which is taken over by Paytm, and he had an experience in EY, KPMG, ICICI, and many more companies. So we have two phases, sir. Initially with the podcast of detailed explanation and the rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Let's. Okay, we
Sure.
can start.
Yes, you can.
Yes. So my first question would be: you had spent a decent time in EY, KPMG, and ICICI banks, working on major projects like RuPay and many more. So what made you leave the stable career and make a startup in the CreditMate and many other things?
Well, that's an interesting question, Srikar. You're right. So, one, I'm from XLRI. Graduated back in 2005. Worked with some of these corporates that you mentioned. Between some of them, I did try my hand at a few startups of my own. Some worked, but I did realize that I like the ability to be able to make a difference, and where decision making and the difference that you make is really dependent on you to a large extent, right? Very early on in your careers at large organizations, everything's set up for you, right? The standard operating procedures are in place, structures are in place, so you really work within the boundary of what the organization is already created, and the learning is already been done by the organization, right? And therefore, it's also very difficult for large organizations to move into what the newer challenges that are faced, right? With evolving technology, with evolving processes, changing requirements of Indian consumers. I just thought it made more sense for me to go out, implement my own ideas that I had. I saw things that I wanted to do differently. And the best way to put that to life was by doing my own startup. But it helped that I worked in these large organizations, which told me how do you set up processes, right? How do you take something which is a fledgling baby and turn it into something which is a mature adult, which doesn't need supervision on a daily or a real time basis. So while it helped that I worked in those large organizations, I always knew that I wanted to be able to give life to some of my own ideas and things that I wanted to implement in my own way.
Yeah, it's quite an inspiring journey and a motivational startup journey.
Thank you.
So the next thing, you are the co-founder for the CreditMate, and
Correct.
what are the lessons you had learned while Paytm had acquired the CreditMate, and what are the things?
So CreditMate was an interesting journey. We started as a used two-wheeler financing platform, possibly India's first such platform. Then we also pivoted during our CreditMate journey to creating collections tech stack. Paytm, of course, came in as an investor during the journey. That was my first real experience of taking a company from scratch, raised institutional funding, work with an organization as an investor who, working with Vijay was of course a massive advantage and an honor. But to have seen someone from close quarters, someone who built a company from zero to the size that Paytm is currently, huge learning is and that's something that's stuck with me through my startup journey is customer centricity, right? You create products that customers need, right? These are not vanity. You don't start a startup to massage your own ego or your own vanity, right? The only ones that sustain as sustainable and outlive you, as a matter of fact, are the ones where you're actually solving a need that a customer has. We believe we did that with CreditMate because back then, and this is back in 2016 when we started used two-wheeler financing, people used to go with cash into a used two-wheeler dealership and buy a 7-year-old bike, right? We said, if you introduce financing into this, not only will the dealer's margin increase because they can sell a newer bike, but customers also get a newer bike, right? And we'd already seen this happening in the used four-wheeler space. When you introduce financing into the mix, the quality of vehicles on the roads improved. we realized that that's what we wanted to do. And so, yeah, so one is customer centricity. Two is the immense role that individuals play in your journey, right? Founders always get the visibility, the glamour, if you will. But it's really the team that you set up that determines if you're going to, be able to set up a sustainable, successful startup. Not so. These two things, I think, build for the customer and also ensure that the people that you have along with the journey, and that's people in terms of employees, your partners, your vendors, your investors. All of that comprises the shareholder, not just people, not just investors or employees, right? The whole ecosystem. You have to solve for them.
It's it's a clear like having a vision and having a good roadmap for the startup. So continuing on the like startup thing. So like you had come over with a clean mobility, sustainable space. Why did you continue in the same journey with KPMG EY? Why did you shift to startup? What made you to shift?
So of course, I've talked about the startup shift, but if you're asking why CreditMate and then why TapFin after CreditMate or why sustainability after. So I've done all the work that I've done is largely in financial services, right? So if you look at, of course, ICICI Bank was international banking. All my consulting experience is in financial services. CreditMate was a financial services or a fintech proposition, and that's something I really understand at core. Right? Plus, when we were doing the used two-wheeler financing platform back in between 2016 and 2019, is when the whole EV space in India was also coming up, right? And when I looked at what do we want to do next, we realized that the macro movement into cleaner energy is something that's going to happen, right? We all talk about AQIs in different urban cities in the country, but that's a problem that's been around for a long time, right? The thought that the founders had starting TapFin was, how do we contribute to creating sustainability, right? There are goals that the countries and India has to achieve. So when we looked at this, we said, how do you marry this, right? How do you marry sustainability with what I understand as someone who set up fintech platforms, and my co-founder who's worked at large banking organizations through her life, to say, how do we create a fintech or a startup which contributes to society, has very, very demonstrable impact, on very identified key metrics. And how do we introduce our expertise, our experience, and actually start to make that journey to cleaner energy sources, to cleaner mobility, and that marries with goals that India as a country has, right? If you look at transport, that's one of the major contributors to the AQI problem in the country. So that's why we said we will start with mobility. Let us solve for that. Interesting time also, Shikhar, because you see the gig economy really taking off, right? Logistics in India hasn't even scratched the surface, right? You go into tier 2, tier 3 towns. You've seen some recent IPOs of e-commerce, quick commerce companies doing really well. So it's a no-brainer that logistics will do well. And if logistics has to do well, you have to do it sustainably. Therefore, newer, cleaner forms of energy, that could be EV, that could be hydrogen, could be solid ion cells, that's any solid state batteries. But the transition to clean is there. How do we ensure that the ecosystem evolves to be able to meet the larger goal? That was the thought behind starting TapFin.
Yes. One more continuing question, like you had worked in consulting companies where it is
Correct.
related to finance and technology.
Correct.
And it's completely different to the EV sector.
Correct.
So how is this shift?
Yeah. So again, as I said, EV is a means, right? So as I said, if it's customer centricity or the need of the country, for example, right? And therefore said clean source of energy,
Yes.
right? If that is the thesis, right, then how do you go around solving for it? And I mean, they say financing is the oil that that greases the machine, right?
Yes.
Pick up anything and you introduce financing in the mix, and that is really when the sector starts to grow, right? And it's a constantly evolving technology, right? EV is batteries, solar. EV is all about technology, right? And it's constantly evolving. We haven't found a stable state. It's not an ecosystem that's mature yet. And what do financiers like? They like mature ecosystem, right?
Yes.
They like the ability to understand and predictable cash flows is a key requirement, right? Mature technology is a key requirement for financiers want to come in, and that's exactly what's missing in this ecosystem. So he said, let us play that role. As I keep on telling my team and everyone, I think we understand technology better than financing companies and financing better than technology companies, right? So he said that is the mix that we should do. Help the people who are transitioning to clean energy get access to capital, and help the people who have capital to be able to understand this ecosystem and mitigate the risks that they foresee. And our platform would be able to help both sides connect and speak a common language.
Yeah, it's quite in informational transformation. So, as you are from the tech, as a buzzword or else the latest trends, AI. So,
Yeah.
how is it impacting the startups and like how are you adapting it?
Oh, massive! I think the AI revolution, in a sense, is probably more impactful than even people realize, right? And especially for startups, right? You cannot. I've been working the last 20 years, right? I've seen where early debates where the shift from a website to a mobile first was a big thing. Then we got into no, you have to be mobile native, right? Right now you cannot be a startup and say I will at some point get to using AI technologies, right? Or use LLMs or even short language models, small language models.
Yes.
You have to be AI native now,
Mm.
right? That has to be a part of your DNA as an organization. Everyone in the organization needs to be able to understand and use these tools, right? But it's great for startups because what took you 7, 10, 12 years is now available to you at you can scale organizations at much faster rates, right? You can create models at much faster rates, right? You have democratization of data means that data somehow is now starting to become less of a differentiator. It's what you do with that data that really determines if you who survives, right, and who creates the most impactful product. So I think AI native is the way to go. Do not ignore it. Any organization, and I also don't mean the technology team or the founders themselves. This is something that every person in the organization has to start to deploy, and it cannot be AI as an afterthought.
So,
But also don't. There's a trap there also, right? The trap is that it could become very generic, right? You still have to solve a customer need, right? You just using it's just that your pathway to understand the customer's need, build solutions, pivot faster, understand data faster, deploy your solutions faster. AI helps you do all of those, right? Doesn't if you think that it's going to solve all your problems for you, it's going to replace the company and customer interactions completely. I think those would be difficult to do, right? So you use it, but use it smartly.
so it's clear that we need to utilize the AI tools for our meeting demands.
Well, absolutely. I think figure out how to best deploy AI. And here's my sense, and I might be completely wrong on this. I think the need for vertical AIs or vertical models and not horizontal models, the need of the hour. And when I say vertical, for example, we are trying to build something in AI for logistics, AI for mobility, AI for sustainability, right? If you're thinking you want to build a horizontal where you AI for everything is your solution, I think you will find it difficult because there are large organizations that are solving for this, right? Again, the differentiation that you will create is by massively building depth of your understanding in an ecosystem or a specific customer set, and then you building models around that. I think you need to still think of your solutions and your problems there.
Okay. And my next question, as per the conversation, we had talking about the sustainability. So, continuing on the same sustainability lens, what is the biggest challenge in your journey, and how did you overcome that?
You mean a TapFin sustainability or
anything
any?
from in your whole journey?
So I specifically remember the first time I quit. This was EY to start which was back then a rewards and loyalty program. And I remember walking into we chose restaurant as the first set where we would create programs for passing loyalty programs to customers. This was way back when it wasn't as simple as now. This was back when you still had to take vouchers and give it to the restaurant, right? and we built something that sat on POS on basis of your mobile number.
Mhm.
Where we walked in and the restaurant owner or the servers at the restaurant said this will not work, and you left your job for this, right? Then you go from one day you're talking to the CEO of NPCI on the RuPay project. The next day you don't have the tag of the organization, so you really are open to criticism. Right? But one thing has changed in India now, Shikhar, is that people are a lot more responsive and accommodative when you speak of your startup ideas, right? Back 10, 15 years ago, the first question was always it's not going to work, right?
Yes.
Well, now it's a little more collaborative where people say, let me help you make this work, right? So that's from a sustainability from a startup ecosystem perspective, right? Because you need a lot more people to come and tell you that or help you with this, right? You cannot create an entire sustainable company on your own. You need a whole ecosystem around you to support it. And from a very sustainability focused startup, so both CreditMate as well as TapFin are very, as I said, very customer centric and solving a very specific need, right? When we started CreditMate, we realized used two-wheelers. A two-wheeler is possibly middle India's first purchase of repute, right? And it's a use case, right? You use it to go drop your children to school. You use it for shopping. Gig economy was just taking off in 2016, 17, right? Where then if you had a vehicle, you could go drive for a Zomato or you could work for a Nervin company and basically it was an income generating asset, right?
Yes.
We could have created a fintech proposition where any personal loan was available, right? But we said no, this helps people with income generation. We've done the same thing with TapFin. We work exclusively right now with B2B players, where anyone in the EV or the solar space, which could be fleet operators, typically small and medium sized charging companies, challenger OEMs who are creating batteries or vehicles. Anyone who's deploying vehicles or is in this space for income generation, we're creating propositions for them, right? So for us, the core, and for me and my co-founder has always, both at CreditMate as well as TapFin, has been to create not a vanity product, but something that has deep impact. And if you create something which has deep impact for customer, that's both sustainable as an organization and as your business model. And then of course TapFin is in core sustainability also.
So, as continuing the same, you had mentioned that you are working on the sustainability related areas. So sustainability means, in my knowledge, it is focusing on the long term projects, not for the short term. Focusing on the long term income, or else giving something to the world. So on that part, how did you manage your revenue, to do day to day activities?
So of course, when you talk sustainability, you also hear of these large projects, right? We're setting up massive solar farms or setting up massive factories for as an OEM, you're creating massive factories. But we said we'll focus on someone where, yeah, you're right, the revenue is a little more, cash flows are not as predictable, right?
Yes.
Which is smaller organization and mid-sized organizations, right? And I said, what do they need as a support, right? They need to be able to figure out how to do revenue optimization. Some of the technology work that we're doing around creating TapFin FleetForce, which is a core fleet system revenue optimization tool, right? We said there's data available in the whole EV ecosystem because they're all IoT enabled. To be able to look at your operations by looking at this data and then finding where are revenue leakages, where can you really save costs, right? Which means that I help you optimize revenues, optimize your operations and your processes, which thereby also gives the comfort to the lending and the financing ecosystem to say that fine, these people are now getting up to a point where they're financeable, right? Therefore, that's the circle and the churn that keeps on happening. You keep on optimizing your revenues, your unit economics, your per asset revenues, and then therefore giving more comfort to the lenders to be able to recognize that and start to provide access to capital, right? The big guys can take care of themselves.
Yeah, it's clear. You are managing your proper revenue, leading for the profits.
Yeah.
So my next question, as you are building building and working on the startup, so as per the market trend, the TapFin is moving as as it is started in 2023. So in the span of 6 months, it has reached some good level of position. So how did you make quick decisions and meeting to the market trends?
There is being close to the market and having your ears to the ground. That nothing beats that, right? We are constantly in the market, right?
Yes.
So both my co-founder and I constantly travel, constantly meeting customers, our vendors, our partners, understanding what their problems are, and you don't stop doing that ever, right? You don't ever reach a point where you say, I don't need to meet customers anymore. I don't need to meet my vendors or partners anymore, right? Because that is when you start to lose connect with the ecosystem, especially right now, which is not mature enough, right? I don't think I keep on telling the team is that we're trying to find a product market fit in an ecosystem that itself is trying to find a product market fit, right? Now, something which is constantly changing, both in terms of government regulations, in terms of the technology at play, in terms of the OEM churn in the ecosystem, general story around sustainability that keeps on changing when depending on what governments do. The moment you stop hearing and being very close to the ground is when you really start building products, which, as I said, was not customer centric, right? So it doesn't matter, and if you're growing fast, that means you solved today's problem, or you basically have solved yesterday's problem. That's why you're growing fast today. It is no guarantee that you'll be continue to grow if you're not solving tomorrow's problems, right? I think there's some large organization where they say, hey, the planning has to be done 6 months out. Right? What you're doing today is something that you already planned for 6 months ago. And in a constantly changing environment like the whole EV spaces, you just you cannot sit on your laurels and say, yeah, we've grown fast enough. Those are decisions taken 6 months ago.
It's quite an inspiring ideation. So on the next question, just focusing on my audience, as for example, if you are hiring some for the roles like a CTO, CFO, or any consultant role in the company, so what are the key specifications or parameters you will be checking before hiring in a person?
Interesting question. What happens is a lot of people try to find their clones, right? Someone who agrees with me, someone who looks like me, talks like me, has similar skill sets, or someone that I like to see as a projection of myself, right? And founders do that also because they think they have a lot of things solved. Very often, the first thing, of course, is intent, right? And you just have to sort of look for that. And the ways you spend a lot of time, and for senior roles you spend a lot of time conversing with people and meeting people and spending time to understand their motivation, right? Second is there alignment of vision, right? Okay. For example, if you're saying TapFin and we're building in the sustainability space, for someone who's a middle to not large organization, so it's not like corporate banking, this is more like SMEs, MSMEs, right? Is that something that the vision aligns, right? Second, so that's critical. Third thing is just hire you. It's critical for you to understand your own skill sets, right? So as a founder, you need to be able to assess your own skills very, very well, right? I tend to think you should be your biggest troll also, right? And your biggest supporter too, right? Then you hire for those skill sets that you know that you do not have, right? Or as a founder said, you do not have, right? There's no point in hiring someone who's going to be, as I said, your clone and have the exact same ideas, always say yes to what you're saying, and has no new thought, right? Or already has the skill sets that you have, right? So I think these two things: intent, motivation, and alignment of vision, and someone who's smarter than you and complements your skill sets is super critical. As a matter of fact, even in founders, right? When you have multiple founders, you should always look for that, right? Are you guys supplementing or complementing each other's skill sets? Do you have different skill sets, right? That is critical. If you all come with the same skill sets and the same, all done the same work, it becomes difficult.
Yeah, it's quite you are looking for the person who are matching your vision and mission.
Yeah, matching your vision, who can possibly even do it, but they can implement and do stuff even better than you.
Yeah.
Right. That is critical.
So jumping into the rapid fire questions. So you can give a one word,
sure.
Short answers. So what is the first thing describe your leadership skills? or style?
Uh, I would say vision, collaboration, and problem solving.
So, most valuable lesson from your business failure.
Customer centricity. I've created multiple startups. Some have launched, some have not even launched, and the ones that have not launched or not done well is because I built something that I thought everyone needed, but there wasn't enough customer centricity built into them. So customer centricity is critical.
A book or podcast you recently inspired on.
Ooh, very interesting. I think Nikhil Kamat's podcast with the Uber CEO, where I think they had a very interesting conversation on two things. One is going to the source and finding the truth, which is very first principles way of thinking. And second, how he talked about TAM, which is total addressable market, and how it means different things to a builders versus investor. I think those are very interesting things. Made me sort of go back and start thinking of first principles again.
Okay. Okay. One question like if you are not in the fintech or else EY, so what are your passion to work on?
I keep on saying I want to do something in manufacturing. I don't know what in manufacturing, but yeah, I think everything I've built so far has been around software and not a product that you can hold in your hand and feel. And manufacturing really excites me, and I really think that the massive next phase in India is going to be very deep tech and also manufacturing.
Okay. Your definition to the successful startup or being an entrepreneur.
I think one that solves a customer's need, right, and two that survives its founders.
Okay. As an entrepreneur leader, whose approach you genuinely admire?
This is interesting. There are quite a few. There are different people who've done different things. I've liked Devinder Goyal's way of building Zomato out, right? Starting with restaurant menus, digitizing it, growing it slowly, has had its detractors. People still complain about the product that is there. Is it a healthy product or not? The way then he sort of integrated Blinkit into it and then made that a success. His whole journey, I think, has been inspiring because it really is a blueprint of how you continue to build and you keep on solving small things at a time with a larger vision in mind.
Okay. What sustainability mean to you?
Sustainability is something that you leave something which is better than when you started it. Right? That could be a product, service, that could be air. What you on day one, it continually gets better is what is sustainable.
What's your strategic decision in TapFin that had reverse or significantly change?
Interesting. So as I said, we are very EV and sustainable clean energy focused, right? But a lot of the market is still ICE, which is internal combustion engines, right? So we've had occasions where large fleet operators have come and said, "Hey, I might have a few EV vehicles, but I have a large set of ICE vehicles. Can you build this technology for them?" And we've sort of gone down because there was revenue in it. But then we very quickly reversed it to say, no, our focus is very specifically clean energy. We can create some solutions that help the ICE vehicles also, but the expertise and we will always sort of, our aim is to help the EV. Yes.
So, our final question: which aspects of your multi-platform strategy like the most, and what are you confident on?
I'm confident all of them. Because as I said, this is a constantly evolving and it's not a mature ecosystem yet, right? So various parts of this ecosystem need support, right? And that's why a lot of people ask us, why are you building so many different things, right? We said, no, as a platform, I think we need to build all of these out. I'm extremely confident that our platform will enable the hesitation that lenders have to lend in this space, and we'll see more access to capital or being provided by lenders. And I think we'll start to see some large fleet operators, logistics companies in India starting to more and more logistics companies sitting on this platform and be able to build sustainable businesses here.
So, sir, it's our privilege to have you as a leader here with
Thank
your
you.
inspiring knowledge on data, finance, and EV sector. So, before we wrap up, would you like to give some tips to the trending or coming entrepreneurs?
As I said, customer centricity, right? Go meet people, go understand requirements. Don't sit in your room and your own echo chamber and expect to know what people need. You'll only be able to, as I said, if your product, service, or whatever you're building is solving a customer's need and it progressively gets better, you will build a sustainable business.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Shikhar.
Having you here, having a great discussion with you.
Thank you. Thanks, pleasure. Thank you.